Joining us live in studio, Botsang Muilwa, political analyst, and we have Andre Roux, senior researcher for the Institute for Security Studies, and Richard Mamabolo is Pop Crew spokesperson. Good evening to you, gentlemen, and thanks so much for joining us. Richard, let us start with you in terms of the tone that the new police minister has exerted, his demeanor, saying to the security cluster essentially to stop the nonsense and get on with the job. His task, of course, is to turn around the perception that the Hawks in the main and the security cluster generally had been biased towards certain political or high profile cases. What is your view of Mr. Mbalula so far as Minister of Police?
Look, I would agree with the minister that we need to obviously improve public perception. We need to build credibility within the Hawks. But as well, the Hawks can no longer be viewed as a political tool to fight whatever battles. And I think part of the challenges that we have seen in the recent past has been the war that has been going on between all these institutions within the criminal justice cluster. So we believe that by obviously bringing new faces, and of course I think bringing fresh air into policing, we believe that in working together, of course, with all stakeholders, we think there could be improvements. And I think as Pop Crew, we will be having our NEC meeting from Tuesday to Thursday, where we will definitely be deliberating around all these issues that have been affecting the criminal justice cluster negatively.
Andre Roux, senior researcher for the Institute of Security Studies. Andre, thanks so much for your time. Good evening. And just your view in terms of what is that the minister has to tackle first, essentially saying that there needs to be cordial relationships, if you will, to effect the crime-fighting units to work better together. Do you think this, in the short term, is attainable?
Yes. Firstly, I'd just like to make a correction. I'm with a senior researcher at the Crino Institute, no longer the Institute of Security Studies. But yes, cordial relationships are critically important. I think there's been a lot of issues of confidence of the public in the criminal justice system that has been core and central to the whole issue that we have now with the axing finally now of the head of the Hawks.
Beyond the praise, though, for Mbalula in, taking the legal advice not to appeal the appointment or the application of Ntlemeza's appointment, what signal does that send to the rest of the value chain?
Well, it's critically important within the criminal justice system, since we've lost a lot of independence of the Hawks, that perceptions are everything. And it's not only in terms of the confidence of the public in the integrity of the criminal justice system, but those members within the organization themselves that are working, very hard. I don't think it's going to impact really on policy issues, having a change in leadership. But I think in the general public confidence terms, it's going to be a very critical change here.
Yeah, he made a point to single out especially the South African Police Service, the Hawks, and IPID. We've seen in recent months the trumped-up charges, back and forth, the arguments and counter-arguments, that it's not just the word of the minister that will effect change in the department or the cluster, that members in themselves need to self-reflect and also fulfill their own mandate. Do you think that the politics or the hatchet can be buried now, Andre?
Well, we still have the IPID investigation against the head of the police that is still pending, and there's a complex political dynamic here. But I think the change now in leadership of the Hawks will go a long way to restoring confidence. I don't think the issues are going to go away, and while President Zuma is now embroiled in this current controversy on a political level, I think the situation is going to be quite fluid and it's going to continue to be problematic for quite a while. But I do really think that there's more confidence now that will come in terms of impunity, in terms of the actual role of the courts within the criminal justice system.
All right, stay on the line, please. We have Botsang Muilwa, political analyst as well. Just your view. I think from the onset, it's a we're seeing a minister that is decisive, makes quick decisions to move on and not to extend court applications and processes and waste the taxpayers' money. In the main, that shows somebody that is not a populist, for lack of a better word.
Well, good evening, Cindy, to your viewers and the fellow panelists. I think this is one of the best decisions the government or the Minister of Police have made. This is a decision in the right direction. The country is at a level of hostage at the moment whereby there's a political innuendo and instability. You don't want to come in as a new police minister and, fuel the situation and don't deal with the situation. I think this was the right decision to make. The country does not have time to be dealing with courts, to be dealing with outstanding issues between the former head of the Hawks and courts. The court has made a decision. I think the Minister of Police, Mr. Fikile Mbalula, has made the correct decision not to appeal what the court has decided. But there are other elements, and I want to agree with Andre. There's other outstanding matters. The most important position in the police force is the police commissioner, and there's still an IPT investigation towards the police commissioner. There are still uncertainty. He is also acting in that position, so there's still uncertainty, which causes stabilization. And Pop Crew will agree with me that if you do not have a permanent head, especially for a massive institute like the police force, it creates, uncertainty of where they are heading to. I think the next step that Mr. Mbalula will have to deal with, instead of waiting for the IPT report as well as the court decision, is to deal with the question and the position of the National Police Commissioner. But nonetheless, the best other thing that has happened for this country is the person who has been appointed in this position. One, it is a woman. Two, is a black woman for that matter. Three, it's something that Pop Crew itself, as well as the nation, has been crying about, to say, why doesn't the Minister of Police appoint career policemen, people who have, and when I say men, I mean men not in a gender format, people who have been having experience in the police force. This lady comes with over 15 years of experience in the police force. Actually, it's 20 years and over 15 years of experience in this particular directorate of the police force. I think credibility is due where they deserve it. I think we must commend and applaud Minister Mbalula for making this critical decision for the country.
And Richard, you were talking about less interference or political interference when it comes to high-profile cases. We have mentioned that Lieutenant General Khomotso Phahlane himself is under investigation. He had filed court papers to try and prevent the likes of Paul O'Sullivan to assist IPID in certain investigations. Do you think it's going to get messier before we see any forward movement that will effect change in the cluster?
Look, we can only hope that it actually gets better. You'd remember as well that I think, we, as Pop Crew, we've obviously had our issues with the acting National Commissioner of Police. But to be honest, we think that as much as there has been a decision, a good decision, by the way, by the minister, to obviously expedite with ensuring that you do not then wait for a long time to say somebody is going through court processes, but we keep the ball running. We believe that, of course, he's committed to ensuring that we deal with all these issues urgently. Now, ultimately there must be a time where the acting National Commissioner of the Police as well vacates. So we actually do need a police commissioner, a full-time police commissioner.
Andre, just for me, it was also observed that it seems more like an endorsement of Robert McBride, the IPID head, in the decision that Minister Mbalula had made. It even gone as far as saying he will support him, and so that he can do his work. What do you take out of that?
Well, it's a complex relationship in the criminal justice system, and confidence on the political level is extremely important. I think the due process needs to continue, and the longer it drags on, the more damaging it is, not only to us on a national level, but to the entire criminal justice system. So I believe that there should be a bit more confidence going forward. But replacing with your deputy on a temporary at least gives you continuity within the system and won't affect policy as much. So I think we're still in for some challenges ahead, but there's more confidence here.
All right. Andre, just stay on the line, please, Butsa.
Well, Cindy, I do not rule out challenges that the police service will be faced with, whether it's political or administrative or operational. However, we should recall that both the head of IPT and Minister Mbalula spoke about it during the day to say it is not about Robert McBride, the person. It's about the head of IPT doing his duties as required. We all know that Robert McBride has a stunning career within the public service for over the years, and in almost every case that he has taken to court, he has come out victorious. So we shouldn't underestimate that. But what will be good for the country is what the Minister of Police has said during the day, to say the duty of the police is peace and security within the country, is the safety of the people, as well as combating crime and reaching the targets or the planned and intended targets. That's what they should focus on. These stories of the nation focusing on Robert McBride as a person fighting the top echelon of SAPS, it's something that we should put aside and focus on the duties that they are supposed to do. And I think the police force is in the safe hands, actually, of the two young cadres of the ruling party, both Robert McBride as well as Fikile Mbalula. They come from the African National Congress. They've been cadres and comrades together. And I think they should look forward at actually restoring confidence within the police service, restoring the police service to be a prime service that the country is looking at, and working together in order to uproot corruption within the service, if there is any, as well as dealing with cases that may disturb them performing their duties. And I think they are on the right track. I don't want to be negative. As a nation, we should sit down and say, there is a change now. Courts have made a decision. The case of Lieutenant General Patlani, it's in the hands of IPT and the courts at the moment. We hope, as Popko has said, we can just sit here and hope that it will be resolved amicably and then a nation has moved. But the other problem in government, Cindy, is these acting positions. Everybody is acting, and it's prolonged. If you start acting on a public service position for a period exceeding 6 months, it becomes a problem, especially when there are cases or questions about you being appointed to that position. And a decision by a minister of police within actually 12 days of taking office can make a decision, and it's 12 days of taking office, it's 2 days of a court decision to say, I've made a decision, I'm replacing the head of the Hawks for the best service of the country. The same, and I don't say a Lieutenant General Patlani should go. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the sooner political decisions are made for that position, the better for the country.
And Andre, just in terms again of who salutes who and the line of command, there had been a conflict around Ntleko and the IPID boss in terms of whether he can appoint or fire the IPID boss. Do you think that this at least is a clean slate where relationships can be forged?
Yes, I think there were some very good comments that have been made now. But going forward, I think there is now an opportunity to have a new dynamic in the working relationship. And it's not only on a personal level between what is essentially politically appointed leaders within an organization, but on an institutional level as well, which is very important and is critical for us to have an effective rule of law system.
He was also very stern in his address to the police force, the finest men and women in blue, saying that you fight crime with all your might and your vigor and make sure that you secure law and order in the country. Primarily what we often see is the statistics around crime, whether it's increase or reduce. Do you think that there'd be a huge dramatic shift from the focus now to be more on the streets, visible policing?
Well, I think what people underestimate is the critical role of leadership in inspiring the people on the ground to go, that one step beyond in doing their activities on a daily basis. And this is one of the most damaging aspects that we've had so far, is loss of confidence of rank and file within the top leadership. So I think if we go back to effectiveness overall, it's going to take quite a lot of steps, and quite a few dynamics need to change still. But it will definitely inspire those on the ground that what they're doing has integrity in terms of the whole chain of command.
Let's bring Richard Mamabolo, Pop Crew spokesperson. As we know that when the elephants fight, the grass bears the brunt. We had reports of low morale within the police rank and file, and issues around lack of promotion or even incentive, if you will. What do you think will be new under Fikile Mbalula's reign?
I just want to firstly say that, in fact, I think most police officers, since the appointment of Mbalula, have been revitalized, really. They are really looking forward to ensuring that we do work together. And, of course, one of the most important things that we obviously briefly touched on, which is a continuous thing, is the Ministerial Transformation Task Team, which will look into all working conditions of police, the standing orders. And you would remember that some of the policies or the act, some of the clauses within the act of the SAPS stem as back as the 1960s. So in obviously ensuring that we professionalize the police, some of these things are obviously being looked at through this Ministerial Transformation Task Team. That will also include society, all stakeholders within society. So that as well, we believe that if we keep in line with that, we can speedily find definite solutions towards ensuring that we build confidence firstly, but moving forward we work together as civil society, unions and government. Of course, we believe that through that approach, it is the only way that we're going to be defeating crime, because at the end of the day, crime is not just a police matter alone.
All right, thank you so much, Richard Mamabolo on the line, and we had Andre Roux, senior researcher. Thank you. We'll just continue very briefly with Botsanga on the, speaking especially about instilling public confidence and ensuring that the new boss, not only will she be a clean broom to sweep the mess around, but it's about the rampant corruption that she needs to she needs to deal with and not just play politics.
Well, Cindy, there's quite a number of high-profile and critical cases that are pending that she's going to inherit. But it has happened, in the history of this country that all Hawks new officials inherit high-profile cases. And one of the high-profile cases that she's going to inherit, in conjunction or working hand-in-hand with the National Prosecuting Authorities, the 783 charges of the head of state. However, we should not look at it in that matter that she will fail. I've said earlier on, she's got experience. She has been in the police force. The nation has been calling for senior echelon of the police force to come from people with experience. The political office has responded accordingly. The spokesperson of Pop Crew has stand up and said the morale is very high amongst the police forces on the ground due to political decisions that have been taken, due to the new minister. And we should also recall that Fikile Mbalula has been in the police force before. He was previously a deputy minister of police. So it is just not an absolute new era for him. But these high-profile cases that she'll be faced with, I do not have any doubts in anybody who have served in a position for 15 years in the public service, especially in a related position. She has been a deputy national director of the Hawks before, and especially in a very difficult and complex, province like the Western Cape, dealing with all the drugs and all those things. And I think what we can do as a nation is to rally behind her, give her support, and also hope that the Minister of Police will actually focus on the political job, focus on the policy, and winning back the political faith of the police force, and leave the operational issues to the head of the Hawks as well as the current head of the police, the National Police Commissioner. But what I would do if I was Fikile Mbalula in this instance, it will be to do what actually the Minister of Finance has done. We have seen in the last week the Minister of Finance, Mr. Malusi Kugaba, calling all and rallying all his forces from various agencies of finance like SARS and so forth. What Mr. Mbalula should do actually is to bring Robert McBride to the table, to bring the head of Hawks to the table, and all other crime-fighting people on the table, and said, people, we are being deployed here by the ruling party. We are public servants. We are here to serve the nation. And what we need to do is to fight crime, not to fight amongst ourselves. If there are any issues that are pending, that are outstanding from IPID, as well as any other security cluster body towards the police people being appointed, if I was Mr. Mbalula, I will handle those issues immediately and now, Don't wait until the opposition, as well as IPIT or whoever interested parties are, like Paul O'Sullivan, wake up after 3 months and say the appointed lady has scandals which needs to be investigated. Deal with those issues at the beginning, clear them and clear the road so that she can perform her duties without hindrance.
Okay, so take our viewers, South Africans, in confidence that she's not a pliable gatekeeper that is going to hamper the corruption-busting potential of the Hawks and impact on the security cluster.
Well, Cindy, I am not in a position to can put my head on the block and say she wouldn't be doing that. But we haven't heard anything so far. We have heard actually all from the police, from the union. The opposition hasn't said anything. We have heard experts like Andre from the security, clusters saying she is the right person for the job. She's got the, required qualifications and experience to can be able to perform her duties. In my view, where I'm standing, I will say to South Africans, I do not have doubt that this woman will be able to perform her duties the way she has been performing them for the last 15 to 20 years.
Botsang, we're going to leave it there. Botsang Moilwa, political analyst. Andre Roux is a senior researcher, and Richard Mamabolo, Pop Crew spokesperson. Thanks indeed, gentlemen, for joining us. We'll take a quick ad break and take a look at the latest weather update for your day tomorrow.